I know I can only really speak for myself at this point, but I know as I get older, time goes by faster and stuff like that. But still, like, that's 2022 is like still like 5 years away at this point. And
Yeah, but if your entire life in fandom has been no like being able to just buy Macross because Harmony Gold's a bunch of dicks, um, a few more years isn't anything to worry about.
welcome to another episode of the Wave Motion Cannon's weekly anime podcast. I am your host, CJ Hitchcock, and this week I am joined by Suribot.
Hello, that's me.
Yes, and I am also joined by a person who I don't think has been on this particular podcast show before, but we got Jared with us.
Hello, this is my voice that I am speaking to you with.
So, in case you haven't heard, there have been rumors boiling above the surface and just kind of creaking along. It looks like Harmony Gold might be losing the license for the Macross series. Now, before we all get too excited, a lot of these rumors are saying we would have to wait until 2022, which is still a bit of a ways off.
That is no time at all compared to the time that they've sat on that stupid agreement they have, like a bunch of a-holes. Anyway. I hate you, Harmony Gold. I hate you.
The evil is almost defeated. Man, they deserve whatever shit they get. Like,
I hope it goes to the Supreme Court, and I hope the Supreme Court says you don't deserve to exist. We're going to rule against you. Shaka Zulu was terrible. What were you doing? Please burn your headquarters down as part of the settlement. Thank you.
All right. So for those who aren't in the know, especially for for our younger listeners who are listening, Macross, when it originally came to America, was called Robotech. It was also kind of a combination of a couple of other shows.
Most Beata and Southern Cross.
Those two. All right.
Yep.
So,
you got to it
so
first.
it was a combination of those shows, and the people who made the show, Harmony Gold, basically held the rights to Macross, which is kind of like a Gundam series where it has like new incarnations of it every couple of years. There was actually one that came out last year.
CJ.
I
Oh my god. Someone just recoiled.
Hi.
I hope they weren't listening to this when
I'm
they
the
were
guy
driving.
that recoiled.
You might have just caused an
I
accident.
bit my fucking tongue trying not to say anything.
I'm trying to keep it basic just to give people who
I understand. I do. I'm gonna be over here for a minute. You keep going.
But anyway, these newer Macross series that have been coming out have not been able to be picked up by anybody because Harmony Gold owns the license for distributing rights in North America for the Macross series. So whenever there's a new Macross title, it can't come out here.
You could call it an Ikinai borderline.
Mm-hmm. And they just kind of sit on this license year after year. Like, the most recent thing that they've been doing with the license, outside of putting out new DVDs every now and then, is they're coming out with a new comic series that you can buy in comic book shelves and stuff like that.
And all of the Mac is just Trace Lane.
Yeah, and
it's
went to the comic book store the other day. Actually, kind of took a sneak peek inside of it, and yeah, the art's very not good. And that's Like, it's...
I feel like if anyone ever had to explain what license squatting was, like, Harmony Gold is the case to look at. Like, I can't. It's difficult to imagine. Like, there probably is, because there's always the most extreme example of everything if you look hard enough. But I find it, like, difficult to imagine, like, more egregious, just nothing than Harmony Gold.
The way I understand it, basically, Harmony Gold got an agreement from Big West and Tatsunoko and Artland, I think. I forget. There's a lot of companies that are involved in Macross's creation. They got an agreement that basically gave them, like, the global license for Macross, or in their mind it did. And up until now, there hasn't really been any, at least publicly that we know of, real legal efforts to overturn that. So it's very interesting that they've taken this new tactic and are trying to get that overturned, and it looks like maybe they will. I wonder if they're going to appeal it or not, though.
Because it depends. Because also, the thing about this is that every time, like, to my knowledge, just about every time that Harmony Gold has actually, like, my understanding of the issue is not necessarily that Harmony Gold owns the distribution rights to, I believe it's, like, derivative works of Macross, but it's not technically, like, you could reasonably make the argument that, like, not everything that comes out of the entire franchise is theirs, but not a lot of people, like, nobody has really, like, nobody's really called the bluff to, like, actually go after this and spend the money on the legal trouble, because it's not worth it. Who is that worth it to? There are a couple small exceptions. The one that stands out to me that I adore is a couple of years ago. So as part of Transformers, basically back in the 80s when Hasbro was putting Transformers out in the States, the entire line was assembled from transforming toy lines out of Japan, mostly Diaclone. However, one of the toys, Jetfire, was just a Macross Valkyrie. They licensed the Valkyrie as they licensed, like, the Takara toy. I think it was Takara. Sounds right. To basically just release it in the States as Jetfire as part of the Transformers. So, when Harmony Gold got the license for Robotech, they didn't have the rights to any of the robots. So they couldn't actually do toy lines for any of, like, the big features of the show. So basically all of their, like, you can look up old Macross, like, toy commercials, which a lot of them were, like, they tried to sell, like Barbie dolls of Minmay, essentially. Not actually Barbie dolls, because it's not Mattel, but you know what I mean. But recently, Hasbro put out a San Diego Comic-Con set that contained Jetfire being just a Macross Valkyrie and just, like, looking like that design again. And Harmony Gold decided to try their luck. And Hasbro called the bluff. And they have put out, like, 3 additional Jetfires that have the big old fast pack on top of it since then. So, basically, when Harmony Gold gets called, it seems like courts don't rule in their favor. And their entire grip on the license has basically just been left up to people not wanting to put the work in. So this could go well, because, like, it seems like, I don't want to say they've learned their lesson, because they definitely have not. But
they've also started
well.
suing,
I have a good feeling
like,
about this.
Jordan Weissman and WizKids and Harebrained Schemes, who own the Battletech license. Not for the Macross mechs, which used to be in the original Battletech set too, and, like, a lot of them were, like, the Valkyrie was, Radar X was. I mean, it was crazy. Super Valkyrie was, but now, like, for even things they think look like something that comes from Robotech, they've sued the creators of Battletech over, and, like, all of these lawsuits will cost money. So I really wonder if they're, like, just desperate at this point.
Like, that was, I'd have to double check, because if I remember correctly, I think the San Diego set, they were, like internally, Hasbro had mentioned at some point that they were iffy on including the Fast Pack, because that was always, like, the thing that got Harmony Gold up in arms. Because everything else, you could just argue that it's a plane, but suddenly when you add that pack on it, it's like, oh, it's our IP, you can't... And after that court case was public, and I think it was a settlement was reached that did not go in Harmony Gold's favor because there is Leader Class Jetfire out right now that has the biggest fast pack on it. Actually, that came out just like a year or two ago, I think. I'm out of the loop. But Hasbro can do what they want with that now. It did not go in Harmony Gold's favor because their claims are tenuous at best.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's interesting. I do think this is a bit of a news story that's still a bit far away. Again, like, I know I can only really speak for myself at this point, but I know as I get older, time goes by faster and stuff like that. But still, like, that's 2022 is like still like 5 years away at this point. And
yeah, but if your entire life in fandom has been no like being able to just buy Macross because Harmony Gold's a bunch of dicks, a few more years isn't anything to worry about.
Right, but at the same time, like, within these 5 years, they could build some kind of defense or something, or, like, actually find a way to retaliate and keep the license for themselves and keep all the fans in the purgatory that they constantly live in.
Only if George R. R. Martin's writing the story. And if he is, I will resubmit to everyone listening that you can feel free to give me your money so I can buy Harmony Gold, as is my long-standing platform for President of the United States.
I would vote for you. But yeah. So it's interesting news. Again, like, I'm one of those weirdos who doesn't mind Robotech. Like, Macross is fine. I think Robotech is fine. I feel really bad for all the Macross fans, because again, like, they get held out time after time again, and that really sucks. Like, it does. Like, there's no denying that. But at the same time, I still like the product that they made. And I think that's always been the weird thing for me, is that it seems like with a lot of Macross fans, they have a big resentment towards Robotech because of what it's done as a whole. And I get that, but at the same time, I still don't think it's a bad little product that they made.
I don't really care. I mean, I'll mock Robotech and stuff, but honestly, I don't really care about Robotech as much as I do Harmony Gold's just belligerent kind of attitude.
No, that's exactly where I am, to be honest. Like, Robotech's probably fine. I don't know. Like, the entire story of this has always been, like, the iron grip that Harmony Gold insists on maintaining.
I mean, all they have to do is take some of the basic concepts of Robotech and reinvent it in a way probably a little bit more radically than what they did for Voltron Legendary Defender. But, it's not like Harmony Gold doesn't have an opportunity to actually do something interesting. They just, don't want to, basically. Mm-hmm. Or they try and they just don't execute it well.
Yeah. Just like, if they did more than nothing at all, then I don't think people would hate them. Because, like, Robotech could absolutely continue to exist as, like, mostly its own thing. Like, redesign some of the robots and just use the names. Like, if you, like something a bit more, basically Voltron, but a bit, harder in that direction. Like, honestly, there's no reason that Macross can't exist alongside whatever they want to do with Robotech. It's just that Harmony Gold is a garbage company.
And again, it seems like the only thing that they seem to do with it is make really bad comic books with them. Like, there was a pretty particularly bad, Robotech Voltron crossover comic that they did. That was pretty abysmal. It just seems really odd to me, because you would think that they would be able to make some pretty decent money if they just sold the rights. It just... I don't know. Or...
No, but you don't understand. If they sell the rights, then they only make money once. If they keep the rights,
it's pretty clear with Harmony Gold's behavior over the last 30-something years that, they want to sit on their copyright, and they want to just, tax Japan for trying to do anything with Macross over here. And, they've actually managed to come out with some stuff from, Macross 2 had a release from US Renditions many moons ago. Manga released Macross Plus in the mid-90s. Animego actually somehow, I don't know how, but God bless him, the guy from Animego, Robert Woodhead, he managed to get the original Super Dimensional Fortress Macross TV series out in a very cool slipcase, like 3-disc DVD set, probably about 2002. So they've, like, periodically they've caved, but, like, the thing that kind of gets my goat is they did not make this stuff. They spliced together Carl Basek, God rest his soul, spliced together 3 anime shows to meet syndication requirements, kind of like what Voltron did, and it doesn't belong to them, like, really creatively. Like, they just want to be leeches, and I can't respect that.
Here's how you know if your company is a front for the mob. I'm gonna look at Harmony Gold's Wikipedia page. Products, motion pictures, television programs, animation, real estate. It's just, like, I really just believe that they are, oh god. I really believe that everything that they have done on all of this is just the most bad faith possible. I can't imagine there is someone at Harmony Gold that gives a shit about this creatively. It really, for as long as I've been aware of this, it just seems like... Because here's the thing, like, another good example, going in the toy side of it, is, it's impossible to import those, like, because there's, like, Bandai is putting out, like, nice, big, like, transforming, like, Macross things right now, like Soul Chigokins, or, like, not Soul Chigokins, I forget what the, line name is, like, Variable Spec or something, and a bunch of, like, they went after, like, individual stores that were importing the figures to sell, like, because they went, the distributor, one of the major distributors of, like, Japanese toys and stuff in the States is Bluefin. They do a lot of, like, Bandai stuff. And they just don't touch the Macross stuff because, like, no, we can't deal with that problem. So what Harmony Gold did at points was stores would go to, like, let's say, Ami Ami or HLJ and just buy them directly and then just sell them in, like, they bought them. They're not, like, getting wholesale. They're not technically, like, importing them as a reseller. They're just buying them to then resell them. And Harmony Gold, like, went after some of them legally because they were selling property that belongs to them, allegedly. And just, like, I had recalled that at some point, like, HLJ was, like, getting, like, cease and desist orders from Harmony Gold because, like, they're like, no, you're selling our IP. And they're like, we're in Japan. Our name is Hobby Link Japan. We're in Japan. What do you want us to do? Of just, like, everything, at every point of this, Harmony Gold just is the villain of the story. I've never, ever heard the argument in favor of them from anyone. If anyone listening to this has an angle on this that makes Harmony Gold anything but monsters, please share it with me.
Don't share it with me.
On Twitter.
I hate them.
To hear it. No. I'm not saying I'll believe it.
I just don't want my blood pressure to go up anymore.
Like, there's a part of me that thinks, like, there's probably, like, a really good movie in, like, the Harmony Gold storyline. Like, it's like Wolf of Wall Street with, like, but it's about anime rights and them holding on to it. And Leonardo DiCaprio is the guy who is just kind of yelling and screaming at people saying, like, no, you can't have my show. That robot has the jetpack. It can't go, Like...
That jetpack looks suspicious. I think that jetpack belongs to me. You're gonna hear from my lawyers. This is like, yeah. They're just the villains of this story. It's so infrequent that you could just be like, nope, that's the bad guy right over there. It's them. It's just like, again, if there is any redeeming aspect to this, like, in the last 27 years, please let me know, because I would be delighted to hear that story of just, like, the poor, like, just the poor, like, regular Joe or Jane working at Harmony Gold that just wants the cool robot shows, but their lawyers are just so happy.
So yeah, let's go ahead and go around and see what everyone's been watching recently. out of curiosity, did any of you guys get a chance to go see the Lupin the Third movie, the Castle Cagliostro, this last week?
No, sorry. I very much intended to, but life did not.
I live in Alabama, and that's very hard. But, yeah, unfortunately, no.
Okay. Well, for those of you who didn't get a chance to see it, it is going to be playing next week on Tuesday, on the 19th, and that'll be the sub version. We got to go see the dub version, if you want, this last Thursday. And one of the kind of odd things that they did with it, because it was one of those Fathom event things, so they have like special doodads in the front and the beginning, or in the front of the movie and at the end of the movie, where there were both like two different sets of interviews that they threw on there. And the one at the end of the movie was great. It was actually like they actually interviewed Monkey Punch and one of the animators from Part 4. And they were kind of like talking about how Cagliostro is like this really great film and how it's very influential, and how it was a really great starting point for Miyazaki. Like, it's a really good interview, especially since it's Monkey Punch himself kind of talking about this movie, and how even though he doesn't really see it as so much of his character, he still finds it a really entertaining film. Like, it's a good interview, and apparently it's going to be connected with the Blu-ray. Now, the interview at the beginning of the movie was a bit awkward and weird. It was with John Lasseter, who is the lead creative person at the head of Pixar. And he is apparently a very big fan of a lot of the Miyazaki films. Because, I remember, for myself, back in the day, when Spirit of the Way was coming out on DVD, and along with, Castle in the Sky and a couple other films, he would introduce those DVDs and whatnot. Well, he was basically kind of doing the same thing again with this Lupin movie. And it was kind of, well, one, it's terribly edited to begin with, very laughably so, because you basically have John Lasseter there, who is just kind of repeating the same things over and over again. And occasionally it would cut to the other guy who was from Fathom Events, who didn't seem like he really understood anything that was going on. It very much kind of seemed like there was a guy on the side lifting up cue cards for questions and stuff like that. But
wow.
But yeah, and John Lasseter would be like, yeah, this is a great film. It inspired Raiders, and it has the best car scene ever. And it would just awkwardly cut to the other guy just smiling very creepily at him and nodding his head and being like, yeah,
that is sure a thing that you're saying.
Yeah, it's a good movie, and it's pretty laughable, and it goes on for way too long. I'm tempted to say it was probably maybe 10 minutes long. Well, it felt like 10 minutes, because especially when you're just look, just cut to the blast of the movie. That's why I'm here, But one thing that John Lasseter kept saying throughout the entirety of the interview was kind of this quote that this was a movie that proved to him that anime is not for kids, and he kind of keeps repeating that anime is not for kids, and anime is not for kids, it's for adults, and I found it very odd, especially coming from John Lasseter, who is the head of Pixar, who primarily makes animated films for children. Because it just kind of seems like you would have, if you were serious about the whole entire it's for kids thing, yeah, it's not for kids thing, you would kind of focus on making movies for pretty much everybody. But with a lot of the films that he makes, they are pretty much they're still good quality films, but at the end of the day, Cars is very much a movie that's pretty much just going to be for the children audience, and just, I don't know, it feels kind of weird. What do you, when you hear someone say anime is not for kids, what is the first thing that you think? Because I kind of tend to think that it seems like a very juvenile response.
I think the first thing I tend to think is, thank God there's not a president of anime that decides who it's for and who it's not. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because I think, and I'm putting words into his mouth, but I'm trying hard to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he means it's not just for kids because Pokemon's a thing. So like that is obviously for kids, right? And Castle of Cagliostro, Lupin in general, not the first thing I'd show a kid. I mean, just in general, but like, yeah, I don't think it's something that John Lasseter gets to decide, who can and can't watch it,
Right, and also kind of like what you were saying there, because like Cagliostro really doesn't have anything that's all that questionable that's in it. Like yeah, some people get shot at and stuff like that, but like there's no like graphic scenes of blood. There's really no swearing in the film, all that much out of it anyway, and like there's nothing too ludicrous that you haven't seen in other Ghibli films before. Like Princess Mononoke is far more violent than anything that happens in this film, but it just seems very odd that like yeah, Lupin as a whole does have like a lot of sexual topics and stuff like that that's in it, but with this movie that's not really present. And it kind of seems like it's very weird that you point at this one and be like, oh yeah, this is the one that's for adults. And it's just, like, I don't know, out of all of the Lupin things out there, I think, like, Castle Cagliostro would be the one I would feel safest showing to children,
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also kind of makes me feel kind of odd, because I also kind of feel like when you say, like, oh, this is a thing for adults, it's not for kids, like, it makes me wonder, like, well, what's so bad about making things for kids? Like, just because something is marketed as a children's thing, like, why does that automatically make it bad? Like, shouldn't we be giving kids, like, the best of the best and stuff like that? Like, because, like an example that you brought up was, like, Pokemon. Pokemon's a pretty quality show, especially nowadays with Sun and Moon. Like, it's really good animation, it's got some fun stories going on with it. Like, that is a show that, yes, it is marketed towards kids, but it's still a very good quality product, and I don't quite understand why, just because, like, that whole entire mindset of, like, because it's made for kids, it has to be bad. Like, I don't quite understand that mindset, because, again, like, we should really be focusing on giving kids good stuff to watch,
I feel like generally that mindset comes from... what's a good way to phrase this? A lot of stuff that gets made for kids is garbage. Is actually garbage. Like, here's a good example of, like, stuff like in the American market, like Emoji Movie. Of just, like, stuff that is made for kids that is just like, we don't care, it's for kids, who gives a crap? Like, it's the mindset of, this is the way things are, so that's the way people, this is the way things tend to be, so that's what people will assume that it is. So just like, oh, animation in America tends to be for children, so we have to, for all of the, like, I feel like that might be an interview to show to somebody who's never seen Castle of Cagliostro and also wasn't about to sit down to watch Castle of Cagliostro.
Yeah.
Like, that feels like something that is maybe that feels like maybe something that you would show, like, the people who you were getting to agree to show Castle of Cagliostro in their theater. Of, like, here's John Lasseter talking about this movie. That's important. And anybody who's actually already sitting down to watch the movie either already knows or was brought by somebody who already knows. So I just generally feel like whenever people make stuff like that, there probably is an amount of ignorance coming from it, of just, like, not knowing what the markets generally are, but I feel like John Lasseter is not somebody to have that level of ignorance from this. I feel like it's just, like, not to sound terrible, but it's just, like, it's the argument for, like, to give to a normal person who doesn't know anything about anything. Of, like, the average person, generally speaking, will still think of, like, cartoons as something for kids. And anything else that you bring up that counters that is an exception. Even though there are dozens and, even though there are dozens of commonly understood exceptions.
Yeah, and I think like the big thing for me was just the fact that it was John Lasseter, and he is like this really big figurehead of Pixar, a very, very critically acclaimed company for animation, and he's using arguments that seem very basic things that it seems like people who would be going to see that movie wouldn't need to be told, and it just seems to me as very odd, and I don't know, like the whole entire thing was not very good. Again, like it wasn't very well edited, and also another kind of funny thing that happened is that towards the end of the interview, they just kind of randomly show out Coco, the new Pixar movie that's getting ready to come out this year, and like for no reason they just kind of start talking about Coco and like show the trailer for it, and even kind of spoiling the movie a little bit.
This just sounds like somebody like this just sounds like we have John Lasseter for like 15 minutes, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, and it just sounds thrown together. Like I can't speak with authority because I haven't seen what you're describing, but everything what you're describing is like the editing is bad. There's another person who's just like and like it's not well constructed arguments. It seems like it's just like we got him for 10 minutes. Just come on, we can't lose this chance.
Yeah, and also because like there was a news article that happened like a week or so ago where that ANN had put out that was basically kind of talking about how both ANN and Cartoon Brew were talking about how John Lasseter was saying that Cagliostro was the movie that he used to woo his wife, and like that was pretty much like the article that was going around for a while, and like the clips that they used from those articles are from this interview, and so like
okay.
If you've seen that clip, like that is a part of what was at the beginning of this movie, and it's a lot longer and it's a lot more awkward. Like it's.
Alright, okay.
Because if you haven't seen that particular clip, like he's wearing this custom-made black T-shirt that has like these chibi versions of all these Disney and Pixar characters all across it, and like a pattern like you have like the like you have Elsa and Olaf and like Flick, and like you're just. Like, the interview is so boring at some point, you just kind of tone out and just start looking at his shirt after a while. And
the shirt sounds like the coolest part of the interview.
Find the shirt.
It.
Oh my god! You undersold this shirt!
Oh, wow. Wow.
This is incredibly extra. Like, I kind of love it. But also, like, wow.
That is most certainly a button-down shirt.
Yes, with a lot of Disney characters on it, but but yeah. So like that was kind of an awkward thing. I thought I'd talk about it for a little bit because again, like the whole entire just like it's for kids thing was kind of,
These look kind of like if Gendy Tartakovsky did Disney characters on a shirt. I kind of like it the more I look at it.
Yeah.
Apparently you can buy it. Apparently
it's
it is
probably like $75.
For how much is? Holy shit! Ooh, you undersold it there. This is apparently a $100
okay.
shirt. Oh jeez. Okay. No, I'm good. I'm okay. This is a nice shirt. Isn't that nice a shirt?
I mean, you can buy it in cosplay as John Lasseter from the interview from Loop on the Third Castle Cagliostro. Like, there's an obscure cosplay for you.
Dear listeners, please do that. And then come find us at cons. Because that deep cut, we're the only people that are going to get that.
Oh, man. Jared, what have you been up to recently in terms of what you've been watching?
Yeah, I haven't been really watching a whole lot. I've basically been, I was working on a local election campaign for about 4 months this year, and still kind of decompressing coming out of that. So what anime I have watched has either been for the podcast I co-host, Otaku No Radio, or it's been just something that I dearly, dearly wanted to see. So basically this season I have really just made time every week to watch My Hero Academia Season 2, the delightful show, and Dragon Ball Super. So I'm kind of I'm kind of in full comfort food mode right now. Just watching my shonen battle shows. That's pretty much it for me. Beyond just stuff I've watched for Old Takuto Radio recently. We covered the second season of Showa Rakugo, so I watched that again last week. I've been watching Record of the Lotos War because I'm going to be doing a piece on that for the site soon.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so that Funimation's got a really great Blu-ray release of the original OVA, and then they've also got the Chronicles of the Heroic Knight, or Legend of the Heroic Knight, something of the Heroic Knight, the TV series. They've got that. It's only like on DVD, but that's good because it hasn't been licensed in North America in forever. So that's pretty much it. Pretty short list for me right now.
Okay. And all that sounds really cool. I haven't been able to keep up with My Hero Academia.
God bless that show.
It's good. Like, it's really good. And like, I guess one thing I'll talk about is that I picked up VRV a while back, and I've been being able to watch some of the shows dubbed now, and I've been watching My Hero Academia with the dub. Dub's pretty solid. Like, it's got a pretty solid cast with that one.
Oh,
like I'm
gonna have to check that out.
It's again solid. It's good. Like, it's not awful or terrible or anything like that. It's good.
There's something so nice about a really good dub. Like I pretty much watch things sub, not because I hate like English voice actors or anything like that. I kind of prefer that, and simulcasting sort of, that's what you end up getting a lot of the time. But God, it's just great to get a good dub every now and then, because just you get to focus on the animation more, and like even if you know some Japanese, like you're still having to occasionally you hear something, you're like, huh, and then you have to like look down, and you might miss something cool, So it really helps to be able to just dive into the visuals with a good dub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's been one of the things I've been really liking about that service for VRV is that it really does give me a nice opportunity to have like an option or a choice between like this show is subbed or you can watch it dubbed and whatnot. Like, I like having that option and being able to switch back and forth and whatnot. And so got to experiment with My Hero Academia with that one and like the dub quite a bit. So, Suri, what have you been watching?
I haven't added much to the list so far. I've been keeping up with Hero Academia as well. I caught up this morning, and that is I'm really happy about all of this. It's going really, really well, and there's a lot that I don't remember from the manga that I'm kind of like surprised to see here and again. It's been like 2 years since I've read through it. Don't have much to say besides just Hirak is still good. Keep up with it. Besides that, like, there's a bunch of stuff that I've fallen behind. It continues to be a crime that out of every show, at every anime, every single anime airing in Japan right now, all of them are licensed and available for legal streaming on a variety of services. Some of them are not going to be out yet, like Kakegurui is not going to be out until next year on Netflix. Fate Apocrypha, in November on Netflix, I think. Anime Strike is doing its thing with Made in Abyss, which I'm watching. The only show that is not licensed, it's Simple Gear. And this hurts my heart. This hurts my heart and my soul. It is literally the only show. There's like 60 shows this season, and Simple Gear is the only thing not to get licensed. It hurts me. It hurts me in my heart.
I'm sorry, Pat.
It's fine. It's fine. I have a friend who's working in support. Like, I'm watching it anyway. It's just like Crunchyroll. Hit me up. I'll watch that again. I watched all 30 seasons of Simple Gear again when they were on Crunchyroll. I love that series.
It is extremely odd in this, incredible time we live in that there is a show that isn't that Harmony Gold doesn't have the rights to, that we actually get to see or not see because nobody picked it up.
Which is still confusing and a shame because like GX was like the Blu-rays in Japan, like third season of Simple Gear was the best selling anime in the country that season. Like that was the best seller of that season. and they proved 2 more seasons as a result. But I guess it's just like, I guess the like audience over here like genuinely isn't big enough in terms of like raw dollar value. So I get it. It's a bad feeling. It's a bad feeling regardless, but it's a double bad feeling when everything else, literally everything else.
I think on the music side, there's music companies in Japan that would probably identify strongly with Harmony Gold in some ways, because they want probably a crap ton of money for the music they're going to license, and I it's a shame because kind of going back to Macross for a second, I worry if we ever do get like a fully like the green light, and maybe our friends at Right Stuff start putting out Macross stuff in addition to their Gundam stuff, that we're not going to get the songs the right way, which would be like for Macross 7. Could you imagine not having like translated like the lyrics of Macross for the songs for Macross 7, because they kind of matter in the plot, like as they're singing
they
them,
really
like,
do.
they matter.
So that's the thing, is a couple of times, especially like the first episode, they do like translate it. They do have subs for the songs occasionally. It's super inconsistent. Like from what I remember, it was mostly not, but I also heard that they went back and changed it at some point. But it's just like it was inconsistent. It was the thing, is it sometimes they subtitled the songs and sometimes they didn't. But just like it feels like, I don't know, Symphogear like came out a couple years, like GX I think was shortly after the season came out. I don't think it was simulcasted. But the rest of it was just like they just dropped Symphogear. They just had Symphogear, but they didn't like they just did it whenever. Like it was like 3 or 4 years after the first season it aired, so they had time. They just didn't for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't want to keep talking about Symphogear. I'll just depress myself.
Overall, do you feel like this season is kind of a I don't want to say a weaker season, but there's not as much compelling stuff to watch as there has been in the last few seasons? Because, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been particularly excited by any of the new things I've seen come down the pipe. But I'm curious as to what y'all's thoughts are.
For me, I think there are 2 shows, like I said last week, there are 2 shows I'm pretty much watching this season, Tsundere Children and Aho Girl, and both of them are probably going to make my end year list, because they're just really good comedies, and they, like, brighten up my world whenever I go and watch them. Like, they're just super good. But in terms of, like, other shows, like, I haven't really seen any interesting dramas, haven't really been captivated by action shows outside of stuff that we've already been watching for a while. This season's been a bit of a sleeper hit. I think comedy-wise it's been great, but like I think at this point everyone's pretty much just waiting for fall to start.
I feel like this season has a lot of really strong 7 and 8s out of 10. Like there's a lot of stuff that like a couple years down the line I'd be like, yeah, that show was pretty good. You should probably watch that. Like, get around it. I don't feel like there's anything extremely compelling. Like, there's no, man, have to. Absolutely. There's none of that. There's a couple of those for certain people in my life. For example, Kakegururi. The gambling show. That. There are a couple of people in my life that I saw that show and was like, this person needs to watch this immediately. This is for them. It was made for them. It is theirs. But generally speaking, I feel like there's a lot of pretty solid shows that I am enjoying and would recommend, but there's no, like, 10 out of 10s.
I don't know. I would give Tsundere Children a 10 out of 10.
Okay, no. Okay, wait. You know what? Okay, let me back up a second. I'm wrong. No, Tsundere Children. No. Surezure, whatever they have it. That thing. No, CJ, you're super right. 10 out of 10. Like that is the thing that I would absolutely be like, no, absolutely, you gotta watch. Like put an episode on in front of somebody. That's real good. Like that has.
Yeah.
The only bit that I don't like about that is that the class president routine bit feels a little. But the rest of it's all.
She's the one that's kind of leading the other dude along.
The smoker.
The smoker. Yeah.
That's a little. It doesn't. I get that it's playing off of a lot of tropes, and it like doesn't feel bad, but like there is a very easy way to read that as bad, and it just isn't.
Yeah.
I feel like the way that you interpret that is that like, man, no, there's no way for me to say that doesn't sound terrible. Like in every one of these, it generally feels like both characters have agency in the situation, so no one is ever being like taken advantage of, really, because both characters, like, nobody is ever actually in a position to be like have somebody like influence like undue power over them, which is a weird thing to say about like a goofy like high school romance thing. But like that situation, even slightly different, could feel like really gross and predatory. But it's fine. Like I actually feel like it handles it pretty well. But that specific one, I feel like your mileage may vary, but the rest of that show is flawless and perfect and great. I love it. It fills me with joy.
It's one of those shows that it is really hard to like describe it without giving away jokes and stuff like that, because again, like, it is really just a bunch of goofy little teenagers who are just in love with each other, and they kind of don't know how to express themselves. Like, that's pretty much what the show is in a nutshell, and it's great. Like, it's hilarious and awesome, and I enjoy it. And I actually had like a really big like girly like squeamish like, oh my god, they kissed kind of moment. And I can't remember the last time a show made me feel that way when a couple were kissing each other. So, like, it's good. Like, it is a really good, solid romance show that is goofy and funny and just very pure. Like,
what's a show that you guys have been watching this season that that maybe overperformed, and what's one that underperformed from what you thought it would? Only pick one, CJ.
Okay, well,
only pick one.
In terms of underperform, well, that's got to go to Welcome to the Ballroom. I was majorly disappointed with that. I just like the dancing scenes are really good. Like the dancing scenes and stuff like that, like, they're great. They're awesome. It's whenever the characters start talking to each other.
And, CJ, I just want to like chime in here to put my vote in for Ballroom. All of the men except the protagonist are garbage creatures that are garbage that are garbage organisms that live in the trash pile, and I hate them and I want them gone. Like, every main dude in that show except like main character, like the main character's like defining trait is that he like listens to what women think and respects them, and the dance instructor is like, that's a very hard skill to learn, and I'm like, fuck you. What are you talking about? It's just they're all the ones that like dance instructor.
Well, they're all kind of self-absorbed jerks. Like, they're just like, it's one of those things like a weird comparison to have would be kind of like Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, yeah, he has this really big ego, but that's kind of the thing that makes him super charming. But the thing is that this is basically a show where it's like every male character outside the main character is just a Kaiba who has a really big ego, who thinks that they're the greatest thing that's ever happened to dance ever.
And the show like goes with that.
Yeah, and it's just, it gets kind of aggravating after a while, and it's just like, guys, like, okay, calm down.
So, did you have one that overperformed? Before I unleash?
I don't know. Again, like, Aho Girl is, like, that was a show I wasn't expecting anything from, and, like, good lord, that show was hilarious. Again, just stupid idiot girl being stupid and charming. Like, just, that's it. Again, it's funny. Again, I love it. I actually picked up the manga here recently, and I've been reading it. It's a 4-koma. It's good. I like it.
Yeah. So, for something that I have that overperformed, I'm trying to think of how to divide this up. Restaurant to Another World is, I did not hear of it. This happened. And it is a show about a family, like a Western-style restaurant in Japan. And every Saturday night, the door to the restaurant, instead of going out into the city, connects to various points in a fantasy world. And people from the fantasy world come in and eat Japanese food and Western style food and are just delighted by the best food in the world. And it's just healing and good, and I have no complaints about it.
I found that one. I haven't seen it all, but I did start it, and I found that one so charming. I really enjoyed the first 3 or 4 episodes I think I saw, and now that I'm got a little bit more time for watching things, definitely want to check that out, because I just really liked the sort of heartfelt kind of nature of it, and the food presentation is beautiful also.
Everyone in that show, despite like not having access to like high quality food, is like a friggin' gourmet. Like a pair of dwarves go into the mountains and just like find a door to the restaurant just in the middle of the mountains and are like, oh, we gotta get some good food. We gotta get some good food in here. And then they get in, they're like, they just like order like a pair of beers and like, oh, the flavor of this beer. Like they just go and they just like, everyone knows everything about food despite never having had good food in their lives. It's a little goofy, but I really love it. And also, apparently, The Way to My Heart is like traditional, like semi-Western style fantasy that also just has cooking in it.
So we're gonna end the show with a Patreon question, and this week our Patreon question is from Tuxedo Mercury, and Tuxedo Mercury asks if there is any show that you would recommend that was from this last year, but it's not exactly a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
That visual for that user, Tuxedo Mercury, that's amazing. I just had to get that out.
That's a good. Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's real good.
Like, it was so good I didn't even like completely process the question. What's the best thing?
What's a good show to recommend from last year that's not exactly a 10 out of 10? Like, it's not perfect, but it's good.
Grimgar, Fantasy, and Ash.
Something you might... There you go.
Grimgar and Fantasy of Ash is a great answer. That's an incredibly good answer. Let me see if... do you have anything, CJ?
I would recommend Tiger Mask if you haven't watched it already.
Also a good answer.
Tiger Mask is a lot of fun. Like, that's a really fun, just wrestling anime show. That's awesome and fun. And they fight a Terminator robot at one point. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, Tiger Mask, that would be my recommendation. You know, again, like, it suffers a lot of the same points that a lot of other shows do. But it's still good. You know, it's a good little show.
And there can always be more wrestling shows.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash light novels, I think, have come out. I think 7 Seas or somebody's put them out. So, if you watch the anime and need more, they have that, too.
Yeah, Grimgar is a pretty solid fantasy show. Like, fantasy is not exactly something that's always up my alley, but, like, Grimgar is a pretty decent one. It's very pretty. It's got some really gorgeous backgrounds.
Grimgar is basically you take slice of life teenagers from our world and you wipe their memories and you put them in a fantasy world, and then but the fantasy world, it's like pretty serious, and then you watch these slice of life characters try to be adventurers, and it's they fail pretty badly for quite a while, and it's pretty great to watch that journey.
Grimgar is like I'm looking through everything that came out last year, and Grimgar is probably like the answer, like as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Josh and I championed that one quite a bit during our Anime of the Year podcast last year, because
I was right there with you.
It was a very special show, I think, and one of the hidden gems from last year, no question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another one I would recommend, just kind of off the cuff, Classaloid. If you haven't gotten the chance to see that one, that's another like really good comedy. And season 2 is getting ready to come out next season.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm really sold on Classicaloid, and I do need to get to it. There's a lot to go.
I need to finish watching it. I started it, but I didn't quite finish it.
Yeah, again, like the idea is that someone has made like modern day reincarnations of like these classic musical figures. And it was this girl's father, and this girl is kind of inherited this house where they're at, and she's basically having to manage the house and kind of keep tabs on these classic people like Beethoven and Mozart, and like they're just kind of wild and goofy and just kind of silly. Like it's a fun show.
Beethoven makes gyoza. Like, I mean, just Beethoven making gyoza. That's the show. There you go. Just watch it for that.
Right, and there's a scene where Beethoven is able to summon an army of emperor penguins from the sky that take out a construction crew that's getting ready to demolish the house. Like, that is an episode that happens in the series, and it's awesome. Like, it's a good show and worth watching. It's I'm really looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, next season is quite a few second seasons. We've got March Comes In Like a Lion second season, I think. We've got yet more Food Wars. We've got Classicaloid coming back, and I think a couple of other things. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Because you got that the one show I can't pronounce that's with the 6 brothers.
Osamatsu.
Yeah, Osamatsu-san. Like, that's
Osamatsu-san.
getting another season this season. And, I mean, Pop Team Epic is getting ready to come out next season, which, I mean, I'm so excited for that.
I forgot about that! Thank you for reminding me about that! Ancient Magus Bride and Kekai Sensen. And, oh man, next season's real good! Look at all this! Is Kino's Journey a remake?
It's a remake,
I thought it was a sequel.
But a sequel too, I thought. I'm not 100% certain. My partner in crime, Inc. is like he's PhD of Kino's Journey, I think.
But yeah, so that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to help support the site, you can go ahead and head over to our Patreon at Wave Motion Canon. If you sign up, if you go ahead and donate $1, you can have a Patreon question submitted to the podcast, and we'll answer it on the show. And again, thank you so much, Tuxedo Mercury, for that question that we answered. And at the $5 tier, you'll get a bonus podcast that features Subs and Doc talking about the DBZ movies. And for the $10 tier, you get to help influence the translations that get to go up onto the site. At the end of the show, we'd like to go ahead and take a moment to thank the $10 backers on our Patreon. So at this moment, we'd like to give a special shout out to Aname, Osama_A, Cornelia Natsidi, Chris Magnifito, and Ben Grant. Again, thank you very much for your donation. It means a lot to us and it helps us keep the site going. Again, thank you very much. Go ahead and hit up the website as well, wavemotioncanon.com. Well, you will find various links to other podcasts that we do here on the site. Like Subs had a pretty decent episode with him and his significant other talking about Paprika, the Satoshi Kon movie. That was a really cute episode. Quite enjoyed that. And a couple other articles gone up on the site, a couple of translations. One of them is about Gintama getting ready to come out with another season. That's another thing that's coming out next season. I'm thinking about it looking at this list. But yeah, go ahead and head over to Wave Motion Canon. Go ahead and hit up our YouTube channel, Wave Motion Canon. We've got a second YouTube channel up that's got a couple of gameplay stuff that we got on there. I know this is an anime podcast, Josh, but we gotta pitch this thing.
They're trying to get me to stream bad Overwatch, so that may happen. If you want to watch, if you want to watch me play Overwatch very badly, then you're welcome to, because I'm pretty bad.
But yeah, like I actually just finished recording the second episode for my Girl and the Robot Let's Play. So another video of that's going to be going up soon on that channel, and that's Wave Motion Gaming.
I streamed 3 or 4 hours of Destiny 2 campaign earlier today, which makes me very tired.
Alright, and if you're interested in seeing any of my rabblings, I'm on Twitter with CJ Hitchcock. The Wave Motion Canon also has a Twitter, which is Wave Motion Blog on Twitter. And where can they find you guys on the internets?
I'm at Surreybot on Twitter, which is where I spend most of my time. I live here now. This is my home.
I guess as for me, I've recently returned to tweeting. You can find me at Save vs. Jared. You can also find me recording a monthly podcast with my partner in crime and fellow Anygamer Inc. Over at Anygamers. We do a little ditty called Old Taku no Radio. We go in depth on a particular anime title once a month, and we celebrated our first anniversary with this current month's podcast, and we cover season 2 of Descending Stories Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju, and that just hit today at the time of this recording. So definitely go check that out if you're interested in that. And I also blog about anime on both Wave Motion Canon. Look for me to return to those pages very soon, as well as Anygamers. And I'm also blogging about gaming again at my personal gaming blog called the Electrum Edition, which is the electrumedition.wordpress.com, I think. And you can follow at Electrum Edition on Twitter, and it'll just you've got all my past stuff on there too to read through. So yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We'll go ahead and see you guys next week. And in the meantime, go ahead and watch some Macross. Macross is good.
And burn Harmony Gold in effigy while you're doing it. That's also good.
See you next week.
Death to Harmony Gold.